It was all a dream. 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 It was all a dream.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the It Was All a Dream podcast. Today's guest is a tattoo artist based in Chandler. Her journey into tattooing started as a happy accident during a time of major life changes. What began with getting tattoos to mark her own transition turned into a passion and eventually a career. Since 2018, she's gone from the corporate life to running her own private studio, creating a beautiful work that ranges from fine line and floral pieces to geometric, script, and clever, lighthearted tattoos. But for her, it's not just about the art. It's about the real connection. Her attention to detail and care for clients make her a standout tattoo artist out here. I need you guys to give a nice, warm welcome to Cynthia Fancy Fernandez. What's up, Cynthia?
Hello.
Long time no see.
I know.
No doubt. So I like to ask everybody the same question starting off. Arizona born and raised, or?
No. I was born in LA, grew up there till I was 12, and then moved out here with my sister and my parents. And they were just tired of grinding to have a tiny apartment in LA, and you'd get a house out here. So got our own rooms. It was pretty cool. It was just hot and horrible, but we made it. And I've been here ever since. So I've been here longer than I was in LA at this point. Feels like home.
No doubt. So yeah. Arizona is home. So we worked together in staffing, and I remember you speaking about wanting to do your own thing. And now here we are. What originally got you into tattooing?
Yeah. So I've always loved tattoos. I've got in trouble for drawing on myself when I was a kid. But I always loved art, always loved science. And I kind of figured I'd end up in some kind of field with that. I started getting a bunch of tattoos, around 2018, probably started in 2015, and just kind of kept stacking them on. And, I think it was in late 2017, maybe early 2018, that the person tattooing me was a friend of mine from high school and art school. And I was like, wait a minute, we're the same age. We went to the same schools. Wait, how are you doing this? He'd been doing it since he graduated high school. So He'd been into it many years at that point, and started picking his brain a little bit. And he was very gracious and shared some of his knowledge and gave me some tips and advice on how to take that step forward. And I ran with it. I kept my job, but I started doing it on the side, and I just never let it go.
Nice. Did you have a mentor, or did you go through any sort of apprenticeship through the process?
Yeah. So in Arizona, there's not a specific process that you have to go through. So everybody kind of has their own story, their own version. I went and took a couple of seminar type art classes from tattoo artists. So I started making connections in the industry a little bit. And from that, I was able to gain a specific connection to go start apprenticing in one shop. The shop was very busy in Chandler. They had 4 apprentices when I was there. A few months into that, I learned through a variety of things that wasn't quite the right shop for me. So I started looking for other opportunities. There was nothing wrong with what they were doing. It just wasn't exactly, I didn't fit in, and it didn't feel right. I ended up meeting someone, Angie, who took me into her shop. She didn't really want an apprentice, but at that point I had started tattooing on people. So she's like, I'm here for help, but you kind of run with what you need to do, and then you let me know when you need help. And I think that was a really great partnership for me, because I felt like I had some freedom. I could learn, but I could also have someone to rely on.
Yeah, it doesn't get no better than that, especially knowing that you have the freedom of being able to be who you are in comparison to boxed in. So transitioning from the corporate world into being an entrepreneur, what were some of the bigger challenges you feel you faced initially?
I think initially, especially coming into tattooing, the financial aspect is a big hurdle you have to overcome. You don't make almost anything, if you make anything at all, in the beginning. So you have to have some other way of supporting yourself. I was working like a normal corporate job. I had plenty of good jobs and, was able to find my way through promotions and things at the jobs I had. But everything I was doing was just like, I can't do this till I'm 65. I just can't.
This isn't me forever, I promise.
No. So I was never satisfied. And I think that's just partially like my personality. I'm always pushing for something better and couldn't settle for, this is fine. No. I forgot your question. Sorry.
No, it was just more about the transitioning
Yeah.
From corporate to being an entrepreneur. And
Okay, yeah. So, I kept my job. I basically kept my job while I was learning through tattooing. And I pushed it until I kind of couldn't balance both anymore. I had enough clients at that point where I was tattooing weekly, multiple days a week. And it was enough to start to sustain myself on a meager income. But I did it and just kept at it. And it just grew from there.
Yeah, it forces your hand to see the survival of the fittest, especially.
Yeah. And I was actually really happy at Angie's shop. And at the point where I was like, I should start looking at studios because I knew that that's where I wanted to end up, but I didn't know what it would take to get there. So started researching that and pricing things out. And I realized that it was time. It was time to do it. It was actually going to save me a little bit of money in the very beginning to just transition to being on my own. A lot of shops have like a commission structure. So this allowed me to escape the commission structure and start just making my own money.
Working with you, you have leadership qualities, period. So I knew that would be something that you did.
Yeah, it was a shock to me and Angie both because I was like, I guess I'm ready to go on my own. Like I felt like I'm just a baby. What?
Spread my wings and fly.
Yeah. But no, it was totally worth it. I mean, it was a little scary at the time, but I jumped in.
You have to sometimes.
Yeah.
This is a 2-part question. What was your first tattoo? And do you remember the first one you gave?
Yes. So I've on my 18th birthday scheduled it. I had 2 tattoos done. I'd made like a heart on my side, and then I did like a flower, 2 flowers with my best friend at the time, and her and I's like zodiac thingies built into the flower leaves or whatever. But we got a matching best friend tattoo. Nice. And then the heart. I walked out thinking I was going to be slick and like not show my parents. And immediately I had dinner with my parents that night and they were like, what's this? And I'm like, dang it. Like it wasn't even a couple hours. Right. Like, so yeah, immediately caught, but it was okay.
No doubt. And what was the first one that you gave? The
first tattoo I gave, another really good friend of mine, Megan, she allowed me to do a tattoo on her. It was just like it was a phoenix design, but we got to use some of my colors too. Okay. So like it was really simple, but she let me put it like on the side of her wrist, kind of.
Oh, okay.
In her living room. Just messing around with the machine. But, I had done a lot of like the practice skin stuff, but it's not exactly the same, but.
It's still, she had to believe in you,
especially
in
totally.
This space because she's putting it where it's obviously.
And that wasn't her first tattoo. Like she had plenty of other tattoos also. So yeah, I think she just saw, like, go for it. You try it out, and it went great.
No shakiness to you? Were you just
my lines today are much better than they used to be. But yeah, that's actually funny too. Everybody I was learning from was saying like fine lines are hard.
Right.
You can't do fine lines. Mm-hmm. I took that as like a dare because of course.
I know.
Yeah. So I made it like my mission in life of like, I want to do the finest lines possible. And I just kept at it. The first shop, as I was learning through the apprenticeship part, had me like tracing just with, they're called micron pens, but they're kind of like a Sharpie. They bleed a lot if you leave like the pen on the paper.
Okay.
So it was tracing really fine designs with these micron pens on regular like printer paper. Okay. So if you go too slow or if you make an unsmooth movement, it is extremely obvious. If you go over a line twice, extremely obvious. So that was now that I look back on it, like that was a great way to learn. Just because you're forced to really control your hand and really control your tools.
Did she end up coming back to you and you redoing or touching it
she
up,
actually moved out of state, so she's now in North Dakota. I haven't been able to see her in like many years,
like,
but no, I have never tattooed her again. Yeah, I tattooed like her husband and a friend of hers in that time frame, but it was still like super early in my career.
No doubt. With tattooing, there's so many different styles to choose from. When did you feel like you had really found your style, you know, as an artist?
Yeah. I never specifically was like, I want to end up in this type of tattoo
Mhm.
framework. I always say like I kind of just landed in it, but they were definitely things I gravitated towards. So like I already shared the line work part of it.
Mhm.
I loved doing line work, just overall anything with patterns and fine lines. I just liked it. So then I was doing a lot of it, and then that brought me more clients doing more of that. I ended up doing a lot of florals. Again, not really like a plan I had. I think through a combination of like I just like drawing flowers, and then getting to do some of those tattoos that are flowers, and that bringing more and more people. Sometimes those flowers getting like finer and finer lines or incorporating other things. But I think my strength really is being able to combine like all of people's ideas into one tattoo.
Mhm.
And a lot of artists, or my clients tell me anyway, they've reached out to multiple artists, and like a lot of artists will tell them you can't have all of that. So again, it's a challenge for me where it's like, okay, well, I want to see if I can. And yes, I will be honest with my clients. If it's like, hey, you're trying to fit 25 things into like 3 square inches, it just isn't going to fit. Yeah.
Right.
But I really push hard to try and incorporate everything that people want. So.
Okay. For me, my first tattoo was done at a friend's house. Like most people, I would think.
Yeah.
I would think. I gave him an idea of what I wanted. He pretty much freestyled the rest. I was heavily into music, so that's what he ended up putting on my wrist or my forearm here. Can you walk us through what your process is like from consultation to like the finished product?
Yeah. So I like to get obviously people's ideas from them.
Mhm.
I feel like most of my clients, they know what they want. I very infrequently have people that are like, can I just look through your book or pick something off of your wall? And to be honest, I prefer the structure I have where I want people to come to me with their dream of what they want.
Okay.
And I like the process of kind of picking out of their brain, like, okay, so you want flowers, what type of flowers? Or if you want this or that, what type? And I really try to get as specific as I possibly can to kind of draw the idea out of them.
Mhm.
And then I will draft something up if it's a consultation, which I don't do an in-person consultation with every single client, like prior to the appointment. But we always have some version of an online consultation. So I really try to gather as much information as I can before I can start drawing. And then once I draw, I always have the preface of like, I will update this or edit it however you need. So this is just a draft.
Right.
And then we kind of work together to get it to their vision. I think some people are better at articulating their ideas than others. So sometimes that process is a little longer for those that need a little bit more help.
Right. So that comes when they actually come and have a sit down with you and just kind of go over and
Yeah, and
can
I
iron out
include
the
that at the
wrinkles.
beginning of every single appointment, even if it's like a repeat client or everything. Like I go through the design with you. Is there anything you want me to adjust, change, edit, bigger, smaller, whatever? I always like go into it expecting that, yeah, I'm going to walk in with a drafted design that I could put on right now, but I want input.
Right. So with tattoos, there's big tattoos, small tattoos, easier tattoos, and intricate tattoos. What do you wish people would understand more about pricing?
I think you get what you pay for in tattoos just in general. And I think that's true with a lot of things. So if your priority is the price point of a tattoo, then I think you're looking at a certain tier of not only skill level, but like perhaps the people who are actively pursuing things in those like tiers. Not just because something is more expensive doesn't mean it's going to be a better tattoo.
Right.
So I do think that takes a little bit of like looking through their work. Not every artist is very transparent. Like online, you can't just like look at their pictures and know how much they charged. There are some artists who do that. But I always think it's just the communication part. So part of my process includes on my questionnaire, if there is a budget that you want to be mindful of, like, can you let me know? And that just helps me understand like where they're coming from. Sorry, I just need to take a breath, like a big breath really quick.
It's fine.
So I think that there is a process of kind of working to meet people where they're at, just because I may be able to charge X amount for something with one person doesn't mean that another person requesting a really similar thing, like not only has the means to do that, but that might not ultimately be what they want. So again, like I feel like it's flexible to me.
So you're willing to work with just to help them understand, like, hey,
Yeah, there are certain things I have to charge hourly for, but it's more
Mhm.
so where it's like I don't have a lot of control over how that's going to go. So, for example, cover ups or like reworks,
Mhm.
it's going to cost me time because I wasn't there at the initial design.
Right.
So I can't control how much time that's going to take for certain things, especially the texture of skin changes depending on how the initial artist did some work. So
Right.
sometimes working through those issues takes me more time.
Yeah, more complex through that
Mhm.
process.
But I feel like I'm transparent about that with people, and most people who come looking for that type of work understand that.
Understood. When it comes to tattooing, also, tattooing is such a niche art. And what's your approach to like staying busy and keeping the clients coming through the door?
Yeah, that's a it's an up and down battle. I think social media is a huge help, but
Mhm.
for me personally, it also feels like a little bit of a chore. I don't like sitting at my phone or at my computer and trying to come up with like captions and things to say and finding the best picture of whatever. Oftentimes, like artists take their own photos as well, so
Right.
not every photo I've taken of every tattoo is like something that I'm like, dang, the the content, like what I did was I'm proud of, but the picture I took of it, like maybe isn't the most flattering, or like maybe I moved and it's blurry or whatever. So there's a lot of times where, um, even though the work is something I might want to post, I might not end up with like a good enough photo that I'm like, yeah, that's gonna really showcase that. Like, so yeah, I think it's just sticking to it, like having some kind of avenue and then just continuing to do that. A lot of my content right now is on Instagram. I have my own website, and I mean, it gets shared to Facebook. Like I don't actively make stuff special for Facebook, but
Yeah, you had mentioned prior to that you deal with a lot of word of mouth, and that right there is a key factor as far as like keeping business
yes,
coming in.
totally. I do receive a lot of clients from word of mouth,
Mhm.
and often like I find those are the best kind of clients because they already have seen some of your work on a real person,
Mhm.
um, and they're just kind of finding you naturally. I end up with a lot of those becoming repeat clients as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, that actually works out really well.
That would be my favorite too. You must be somebody that works well with me because the other people that that have come through my service as well. So, what's one of the most meaningful tattoos you've ever done?
um, I don't have a one specific one in mind,
Mhm.
but I very frequently get requests for memorial pieces.
Okay.
And that's like a niche I never like pursued, but I've ended up in a little bit.
Okay.
I really enjoy that portion of my job, but it is also a very heavy portion of my job. Um, so it's, it holds like a special space in my heart. I find it's super important. So I take that with like an even extra level of care. And I do think it's really important to honor like what that person is going through.
Mhm.
Sorry, I don't want to
It's
cry.
okay. It's okay.
So I do try to provide like a space in my studio for people to do that. Like there's tissues, there's snacks, there's you can like take a second, I can step out of the room. Like there's a little bit of level of like intimacy to the process as it is. Like I'm touching your body to put something permanent on you forever, but you've already been touched by this experience.
Right. And what it symbolizes even more so through that process.
Yeah.
That's
So it's heavy because obviously um that person's like going through it in that moment, not only physically, but they've got like actual emotional pain tied to it too. So they're experiencing a lot.
and then you're
Um,
sharing that pain
mhm.
by putting the tattoo there. Man, that's deep. Have you ever turned away someone? And if so, why?
Yes, but not like I won't tattoo you. It's been more of like if I think that there are better artists specifically for their needs.
Mhm.
So for example, I don't take portraits. That's just not something I feel like comfortable putting somebody's like grandma's face on their body forever. That I feel there are plenty of artists that do portraits and they can offer you a better finished product than I will be able to. So I, especially for something like that, where like there's a right and a wrong end result there.
Mhm.
If it doesn't look like grandma, that's bad.
Better
So,
look like grandma.
yeah, exactly. So I would prefer that like people that are requesting things like that just go to someone who specializes in it.
Right.
I wouldn't take my car to like a dentist and be like, why can't you do my oil change? They might, that dentist might know how to do that, but like that doesn't mean that's what they
You
should
don't
be doing.
specialize in it. I don't need the service from you.
Yeah.
No, I get it. And how do you make people feel comfortable when they get in your chair, especially for like first timers?
Yeah. I actually get a lot of like first tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super open and transparent about the process. Like I often explain like every step of what I'm doing so that they know what's happening.
Right.
I think that takes a lot of the nerves out of it. And when you're getting a first tattoo, especially, like you're usually pretty nervous. A lot of people get nervous even after their first tattoo. So I try to be as helpful in that regard. And I've even had moments where I'm like, just if this is too much information for you, please let me know. I will stop. And I'll just do what I need to do. But no, I actually find most people enjoy that quite a bit because they know what's coming. They know what to expect and they're not startled or, caught off guard by anything.
Nice. Well, now we've reached the part of the show that's called.
And if you don't know, now you know. 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 Now you know.
And this is the part of the show where I had the opportunity to speak with some of your clients and have them provide questions to help to get to know you better. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Ready as I'll ever be.
This question is from Rebecca Herrera. She asks, who is an entrepreneur that you look up to while navigating through this journey and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I have, it's like a two-part answer kind of.
Okay.
One of the people I look up to is Angie. She's always made art her like business priority, and she's really turned her passion into something that makes money for her, and she can sustain herself and oftentimes help her community. Like she does things for the community and her actual family and friends. So I think she's been a role model in that way of having the means to like turn your art into something that you can affect change for other people. Like in their actual life, not just putting something on their body.
Right.
And then the other person is my husband, Ben, because he also has this little like seed of inkling of what he wants to do, and he just runs with it till it won't run anymore. And so just kind of having that same drive. I think we're similar in that regard, but it's been nice seeing another entrepreneur take that process and just keep running with it. Yeah. Just gives me something to like work towards as well.
Well, it helps you understand their pains through that process, and someone mirroring some of the things you go through.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Understanding some of the things that you go
and our
through
businesses are very different, but I think there's a lot of things that relate regardless if you're just running a business of any kind. Like there's challenges. There's a joke amongst him and a couple of the other entrepreneur friends in a group that here we have that if you're not having a mental breakdown about once a month as any kind of business person, like you're probably not doing enough.
No doubt. Hey, shout out Ben. Keep grinding, brother. Keep grinding. Let's see here. You did her sleeve work, right?
Rebecca, yes.
Yeah, Rebecca's sleeve work here is in a picture that you guys will see. Next question is from Ellen Davis. She asks, what's your biggest fear going into entrepreneurship, and when did you know it was time to switch and rely on yourself versus the corporate world?
Okay. So my biggest fear, I think, is just in general, like failure, like not being able to meet the expectations of a client or not being able to meet my own expectations. But I also think that's like my biggest driver. Just trying my best and actually doing everything I possibly can do to prevent failure. And I also think I have a great attitude when it comes to any failure. Like I always take it as a learning opportunity. There's always something to be learned from every single experience, every person that you meet. I'm totally a believer of like things happen for a reason. So if something didn't work out, like there was a reason for that and you're supposed to learn from it.
Right.
And whatever you believe in, I think life will continue to present that opportunity to you until you get it through your head. So if you don't learn it on the first try, it's going to come back and you will learn that lesson eventually, or you're going to be stuck. So I don't like to be stuck. I like to move on.
And when did you know it was time to switch from the corporate world?
Yeah. I think I reached a point where not only was I not finding joy in my corporate job, but it was really creating stress, hardship, like unhappiness in my life. Mm-hmm. And that's something I think in general in my life, like I don't lag very long when something brings me unhappiness or is dragging me down in any kind of way. Like I try to be quick about cutting that cord because it will drown you. You can't save everyone or everything. Yep. You absolutely have to keep yourself as a priority. If you don't do it, no one else will.
Right.
So Gotta let some stuff go sometimes. It's heavy to carry all that baggage around.
Definitely. That's one thing I can say about you is that you seem a lot happier now in comparison to seeing that we work together and you're doing your own thing. It just feels different as far as conversation wise. You're just like that monkey's off your back and you get to control the narrative.
It's a heavy burden to carry when you're carrying things not only for yourself, but like you start taking on the burdens of other people, and whether that's a business because there's owners of that business who expect things of you, or it's other family, friends, whatever. It's heavy to carry all that stuff. So sometimes it's important to remember like, hey, I can only carry like so much without drowning myself. So it start letting some stuff go, throw it over.
And now the things that you're carrying are for self. So it carries a whole different
and I think just having like my own like I don't know what the word, like agency over, making those choices. What do I want to carry and what do I not want to carry? That has provided a lot or released a lot of stress for me, and just, it gives you clarity too. Like how important is that really?
Right. Feels different working for self. Just like, this is mine. Mine.
Yeah.
Next question is from Angie Zapata. She asks, what advice do you give to someone seeking art inspiration?
That's a good question too. I think it's important to like follow your gut. That sounds like oversimplified, but sometimes like lately I've been sewing a lot. That has nothing to do with like my actual business of art, but it has sparked creativity in me. And I think just allowing your brain to like noodle around with new ideas and just carry it, like just take it with you wherever it leads, and being loose about the end result is allowing those moments like create strength for when you need to use your art for business or anything. It doesn't have to be art. If it's your passion, it's just something you're good at. I think there's nothing wrong with having a business that's like, maybe that's not like your passion in life, but if you're good at it, why not try to turn that into something that can improve your life and maybe provide more opportunities to pursue your passion? Yeah,
something you enjoy. So is there a dream piece or project you'd love to do or have done if budget weren't an issue?
I've done a few floral sleeves, so like getting to essentially cover somebody's arm in foliage. I've done one person's leg as well. We didn't like cover her skin, but she was not going for a covered look. She was going for like a lot of negative space and sort of a spiral thing. But I think that's the projects where I'm leaning toward. I've enjoying them, and I want more of them. Every time I get to do one of those, it's super exciting because I just feel like I get more room to work. And again, getting to pull more ideas out of those people and really make it their own. It allows for a unique piece, but also like these are things that I like to work on, the fine lines and doing all of the foliage. There's something beautiful about nature that you just like, you can include, and why not use it? And then that actually leans into the geometry part, even though you might not think that right off the top of your head. I believe that like everything in nature has that sacred geometry thing to it where everything is like one. So finding those like connections is also really fun. Anything that I get to include both of those in one project is like, amazing.
I needed this.
Yeah.
I needed this. Are there any trends that you love right now, or any that you could live without?
Well, I get a lot of the requests for birth flowers. I'm not sure if that's like a unique trend that started since I've been tattooing or if it's always been a thing, but I hadn't heard of it until I started tattooing. So for whatever that's worth.
Flowers.
Yeah. So like there's like a calendar, and it'll show like what month, like what flowers are for that month. And then people will ask for like a bouquet of their, for example, their kids and their husband or whatever. And it includes the flower from each of the months of their birthdays. But I think that like concept has existed with zodiac signs already. Prior to me being aware. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if that's new or not, but that's a trend I see a lot. Yeah, it's okay. I've also told some of my clients too, like you do know that if you Google search this in different places or whatever, that you might get different results. So like which one is the flower you actually want? Right. I'm indifferent. I don't care. I just want to make sure it's like what you expect, right? That you're not done with the tattoo and you're just like, what? What is this? I hate roses. Like, dang it. Well, it's what it said on Google. No.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's a trend. I think to see trends we could go without. That's kind of a hard question. I was a little bit over the angel number thing for a minute, but I reframed my mindset. And I do love doing like script in general. So like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the script says to me. It's just, am I accomplishing like a good product for what I'm going for?
Right.
So yeah, I guess once I got over okay, it's numbers. And I totally like, I get the thing where you see that same set of numbers everywhere you go or whatever. So
Do people still do Old English?
Yeah.
They do?
I feel like that comes and goes too.
Oh.
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of tattoo stuff is trends that come and go.
Interesting.
We thought we'd never see tribal.
Look, that's one I'm not a fan of.
Yes,
personally.
The Gen X group kind of brought that back, but they're calling it cyber sigilism. Again, if I don't think about like, oh my God, it's tribal, it's fine. The designs are kind of cool sometimes. And now we're doing it a lot different than it was, I'll say like 90s, 2000s.
What's different?
It's a lot thinner lines.
Okay.
So again, in my
More
wheelhouse.
Color? Is there color added to it?
You can. I've seen people do it in monochrome. So like they'll do all red or all blue or all a color. But at the end of the day, it is just like an abstract design. So it's important that things like that fit the body well and they're contoured to wherever it's going. And so those are the things I focus on. And I try not to focus so much on like, oh gosh, I've gotten, 10 requests for this thing in the last month. Like, where did this come from? Why is everybody getting it? They come and go. So just got to ride the wave.
Yeah,
all right.
I see it. When I see him, it dates that
and
person.
I've seen some really cool ones. Like I've seen some really cool designs.
The new ones? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, even the ones from like the 2000s, I've seen some good ones. They're not all good. But I think the difference then was like everything was very thick, bold
It was.
designs.
Yeah.
And we're just, as a society, it seems, sort of have moved away from that. But who knows? That may come back. I don't know.
I hope it does.
You never know.
I don't care who gets in their feelings, but I'm not a fan of it.
The way I see it is like, it's not... Everybody likes different things, and you're the one who has to look at yourself in the mirror every day. So if that makes you happy, by all means, go for it.
Understood. Where do you hear people say they get the most pain from when they're getting tattoos? And are there any places you won't tattoo?
So far, I've not gotten a question about a place I don't want to tattoo. So I haven't reached that point. I think in general, like I would decline if somebody asked for genitalia or something like that. I just don't want to be in anyone's business like that. And it's getting a tattoo is not a fun process. So like, it's not going to happen quickly. I'm not trying to do that.
Right.
Yeah. I honestly forgot the first part of the question.
You just want to make sure, hey, look, she's not tattooing.
But you asked like, what was the most painful?
Yeah.
The most painful spot. Everybody is different. So most people have like a right or a left favor. So one side is more painful than the other.
Okay.
In general, I do think anything on the torso tends to be more painful, but there is like a real science behind that. Your body is trying to protect you. Your brain is trying to protect you. So your brain is telling you your organs are being cut. Like, are you good? Don't you want to run away? So you do have to have strong mental fortitude to get over those moments or to tell your brain like, no, I chose this. I want this.
Right.
In general, I think people are able to work through pain in their own ways, but everyone is able to do it. It's just a lot of managing your own brain. So I don't think there's a specific place that's like the most painful, and it's different for everybody.
I don't know. For me, when I got my neck tattoo, I don't think it was so much the pain. Maybe it was pain a little bit, but it was the noise that was just bothering me. It's just like that constant man.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I have like a quarter-size tattoo behind my ear, and I swear that was probably the least painful tattoo I've ever had. But it was like right almost on my skull. So that was for me the experience where it's just the noise. Like you can feel your skull vibrate a little bit, and you can hear the machine in your ear. Everyone uses different machines too. So most I'll say like current contemporary artists are using a rotary, and those are generally quieter than the old school, the coil machines. Those are the really loud ones you could hear when you enter the shop.
Yeah, sound like a baby
I
motorcycle.
don't use those, but yes, like I think you'll have a different experience depending on the artist, depending on how heavy-handed or light-handed they are, and what machinery they're using, and then just in general the person themselves. Like, what is your pain tolerance like, and what is your ability to manage your own thoughts? I tend to be light-handed. And I use a rotary machine. So I feel like that's to your advantage if you're kind of nervous about getting a tattoo.
Right.
But, everybody's different.
No doubt. Who's your favorite artist outside of the tattoo world?
That's a great question. I have always loved Salvador Dali. I've loved all of his work. I love that it's surreal, but he paints it in a really realistic way. So it does like play that trick on the viewer of what are you actually looking at? Because your brain wants to believe it's real, but the concept is just so out there. So yeah, I for sure.
It'd be Salvador. And are you working on anything outside of like tattooing? I know you mentioned sewing, and potentially that might grow into something eventually, but right now you're just taking your time, figuring things out. Or doing anything like merch or any of the art pieces?
Yeah, not currently selling any merch. That's always been like I make stickers. So I do really enjoy making stickers. I give them away when my clients come in. That's like the doctor's office.
Where's the lollipop?
Yeah, it's a sticker. There is candy though, if you want candy. So I really enjoy making stickers, but that's not something I specifically like monetize off of. When I was working in Angie's shop, I was able to like sell my stickers in the shop. But again, I feel like if you like stickers, you might pay for them, but you probably won't pay more than $1 or $2 or maybe $3 for something. So it's not my driver. Like I don't really care about making the $3 off of a sticker. Right. I more care that like the person has a fun experience, and then they're like, oh, cool. Like I love free merch. So it's like, oh, cool. I got a free thing for my tattoo appointment.
Constant reminder of where they were at when they received that.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually help my husband's business for stickers as well. So that's like a fun thing I get to do. That's still within my lane, but it's, helps somebody else. And the sewing part, I eventually hope that I get good enough at sewing I can create patterns, and that would be something I would be interested in selling. Nice. But I don't feel like my skill level is there yet, so I'm pushing.
With the sewing, what are we talking about? Are we doing
blankets? I've been sewing clothes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've been sewing clothes. I'm patterning things off of like clothing I own that I like. And in some cases I've bought patterns online, but I'm really just trying to like learn through the process right now. So I'm like deconstructing something conceptually, like the items I already own, right, and then recutting it out of a new fabric and putting it together, and then trying to tailor that to fit me better so that I can better understand what that pattern piece will look like if it were flat again.
Nice.
And that's where I like see that going, is if I can learn how to do the pattern pieces without having to cut it out, then I can sell the pattern.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll see you. Might see you in stores sometime soon, huh?
Yeah, that was I think when I was like a teenager, I would like doodle little fashion designs, but I never really thought about it until lately that I've been sewing, that it's like, oh, I do remember I used to like doing little drawings and stuff about this. Like, oh, maybe I could turn it into some kind of income.
No doubt. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you say?
I would say, don't believe people when they say you can't make money doing art. For sure. And I've said that to like other people now. I think just follow that little voice in your head.
And that'll get you where you're going. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What's the goal? What's the goals for Cynthia?
I think I'd like to have a larger studio. I'd like to be able to just reach more people, have more clients, continue to see my business grow. And then I guess, getting that sewing thing off the ground. Yeah. Having some type of like fashion design concept.
Which I know you had mentioned, you having a private studio, and you went from working with what was her name again?
Angie.
Angie's studio to having your own. Do you want to oversee a space where you have other?
Honestly, no.
You don't want the responsibility?
No, I've been in management and supervision positions before, and I think I've completed that level on my video game of life. don't think I want to do that again. No, I think I do my best when I'm able to kind of drive my own ship. And when you have employees or just people you're overseeing, you bring on the intricacies of each individual person. And I found in my experience that took a lot of my time and effort and energy. So I'm not currently feeling that that's something I want to pursue again. I do think maybe when I get to like 10 years of tattooing, I might be open to taking an apprentice or something like that. So helping one person learn through the process, but it's a big responsibility. And I think that there's a lot that comes with it. It's not all good and not all bad. Nah, no, thank you.
It's no right now, Rob. It's
no,
no
for now.
It's a no for now.
Yeah.
Any words of encouragement or wisdom for those that are thinking about entering the world of tattooing?
The biggest thing is drawing. So you do have to be able to draw. It doesn't mean you have to be able to draw like everything from your head or, I don't know, have some like some metric of how good are you at drawing. But I do think the practice of drawing. So doing it a lot.
Is it actual drawing or tracing?
I think drawing is important. I do think there is value to tracing for the sake of understanding your medium, but I don't think that tracing is going to push you creatively. So there's two sides of that. There's the technical skill and then there's the creative skill. I think most people are born with the ability to learn the technical things, but that spark or that thing that drives you is usually that creative spark. So you need to care about that in order to be able to push that forward.
I just kind of question that space just because like AI has created so many avenues now where it's just like, is a person that does graphic design really a graphic designer, or is he just going into this platform going, I can knock that out for you?
Yeah. So I haven't incorporated AI in my designs, but I've seen online, like I've seen other people that use it. I think the right way to do that at this moment in time for artists is if you need kind of an example of like, where could I take this idea, then using AI as sort of like a brainstorming tool, I think is okay. I don't think it's right to like create a design on the computer through AI and then necessarily tattoo that on somebody. But the reason I think that is because I think AI still makes errors. So it still takes a human to kind of look at that and determine where those errors are and fix them. So if you have the skill to do those things and you make those corrections, then we could have a debate about it. But if not, I don't think it's right because I think you're selling something that isn't, like you're being disingenuous about the process.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's a little icky. Yeah.
You're on team creative. I definitely get that.
Yeah. There's value in that tool, but it's a tool. So
yeah, I was just wondering, just because it feels like a lot of things are presenting ways of shortcutting, and I didn't know if that lived or how prevalent that was in the nature of your business.
Yeah, I'd say because I'm in a studio by myself, like I don't often get to interact with a ton of artists to know like, are a lot of people using this or not? I've just based on what I'm seeing on my own social medias. So I don't see a ton of tattoo artists using AI, but I do see artists who create AI pieces by putting in prompts in a computer and then letting it kick back an image. And I guess if you want to sell that as your own, then that is your prerogative.
Anything you ever think about, like, I know when I was on my way here, I was because I had been researching and thinking about questions that I wanted to ask you, how the algorithm goes. So all of a sudden these different magazines start popping up, and like Inked magazine and stuff like that. Do you submit pieces to magazines to try to get placement, or is that something
I've never done that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't know the process of how you get like your pieces put into those magazines. My understanding is it is an industry of kind of like who you know. Okay. So you need someone to kind of help you get your foot in the door if you've never been in that space. But again, I've never pursued it, so I really don't know if that's true or if it's hard or it's not. I don't know. I do know that magazines like Inked magazine, they often take their artists from like well-known competitions that are either worldwide or nationwide, and they'll go like seek out the artist to interview them, and then they'll showcase like a whole kind of portfolio of that person's current work and talk about them.
You a fan of competition?
I actually no. No. I have attended several like tattoo competitions, but no. And the main reason for that is I think it's such a everybody's so different like in their art that it's like an odd concept to me to like put somebody who does portraits up against somebody who might do like really surrealistic biomechanical tattoos. How do you compare those things?
Right.
But I do think there's value in like bringing artists together and letting artists meet other artists. Oftentimes that sparks creativity for artists. So it's a space to kind of learn and grow from each other, and to get to appreciate each other's work. So for that, I think competitions are great. Personally, it's not been really on my mind or priority of mine to like, I want to have an award that says this and I can put it on my wall. Again, an industry of a lot of these people know each other. So once you're in, it might be easier to get other opportunities. And if you're not in, it might be really hard that first time. But yeah, it's not a priority of mine.
You had mentioned collaborative and seeing people kind of intermingle, and you meet different people or get to meet people that you may have been a fan of just based off of seeing some of their past work. Is there anybody that you have on like a wish list, or if you could do a piece with that's more known?
That's a great,
so to speak.
Great question.
Would you like to do a collab with?
I don't have a specific like person in mind, I guess, that I can say for sure. I've seen artists at work that I admire. Off the top of my head, I'd have to look them up on Instagram to give you the exact names. But there's an artist in Mexico City that I just love his work. There's one in Brazil. I love his work. I tend to like the ones where they're illustrative. So they kind of look like a little drawing you might find in like a comic book or something, but the way they apply lines and the way they apply color is just like speaks to me. So both those two artists for sure. There's an artist in New York City called Pony Lawson. He does a lot of, it's illustrative, but it's a different type of illustration. He does like, it's a lot more line work. So it's a lot more structured in his designs. And I just really like that about his work.
Okay.
It's not completely black and gray or completely color. I feel like he lives in this extremely muted or neutral tone. So it sort of looks like it would be black and gray, but sometimes there is like a pop of color somewhere.
Nice.
So I just like that aesthetic.
Okay. That's what's up. Well, is there anything that you'd like to leave the people with before we get up out of here?
Follow your dreams. No, no, I think everybody has a gift, and one part of your life is to try to figure that out. What is it that you're good at? Like, it doesn't have to be a job. I think many people are good at things that don't necessarily land into the category of like, I can get a job doing this.
Right.
But finding what you're good at is step one. And then finding a way to earn income from that is step two. Step three is being able to live off of that income only. And for some people, the passion thing, if you start making money off of it, that is going to take the joy out of it completely. So that might not be the right answer to live off of it. But yeah, step one is figure out what you're good at.
You heard it here first, people. See Fancy Inc. Check her out. All her social media will be listed on this pod. I appreciate your time, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
Hey, and we out.